Fáilte rómh go léir go dtí an seola seo I Westport Town Hall. Fáilte speisialta do clan I Whyte, Mary. Fáilte speisialta an sin, Ben and Chi. Special welcome to all the O'Malley family. I'm not sure how many of them are here, but there's Mary and there's Andy, Breach, Karen, Tom and John and their families. I know most of them are here anyway at this stage. And of course Mary is here herself and her husband Conal down there, just toasting us. So you're very welcome as well. Just housekeeping. Exit. The windows if things get bad. And if you don't mind turning off this little left beside it, whatever. Just in a place called Gort the Warla. To us in Westport, that's down the Newport Road. The field of the Mallra. Mallra is a bit like dough, it's a clay, a bit like dough when you make bricks from it. So, sure, that's what poetry is. Poetry is making something, the bricks, every word is a brick. So we're going to have a new word now. Gort Adon, I think we call it anymore, with all the poetry that's down there. And Gort the Warla was also the home of an MP called John Hills. And when you read this book, you'll find reference to John's Hill, or is it John Hills? But anyway, and Gort the Warla also features in the story of one of this country's great nationalist writers, Ethne Carberry. She died in 1902, around that time. And it was she who wrote Roddy McCorley, just for all the Republicans here, not Sinn Féin people, it says everywhere. Ethne Carberry was the pseudonym used by a lady called Anna McManus. And that book, and the reference to Gort the Warla, is included in a book by Sinead Gleeson. She did a kind of compendium of Northern Irish writers in 2017, and then Irish writers before that. So it's in a book called The Glass Shore. I want to give a special welcome to Mary's classmates. I know there are some who are supposed to be here anyway. Woo! Christine O'Dowd, is that right? Regina O'Malley, Margaret O'Rourke, Ethan Dodge. There's always one, isn't there? There's always one. I just thought Moonshore on freshen. I'm sure Kathleen, Sister Kathleen, you're very welcome. And there are greetings I may as well add from my sister-in-law Jackie Boyle in France today, which I was talking to, and she sends best wishes to you, Mary, this evening. Also, a warm welcome to Breda Burns.
Yes.
I always say the mother of art and artists in Westport, and this is her beautiful piece of work which adorns the cover. Beautiful. Well done, Breda. I remember Mary as a schoolgirl, believe it or believe it not. Now, I'm a couple of years older than her, I say, but anyway, I remember her as a schoolgirl, and I remember her sharing poetry. And I have a little small collection of Mary O'Malley poetry in my bootleg press. It's not for publication, Mary, don't worry, but it's when Mary was a teen, anyway. Let me give some background, just something on some of the educational stuff with Mary. She received her MA in Old English Poetry from NUI Galway and her doctorate in linguistics from the University of Pennsylvania. Doctor. So there's a doctor, in fact there are two doctors in the house. They're standing side by side at the moment.
You might actually come up beside you.
She's currently director of the Villanova University's Study Abroad program at NUI Galway, and she won the Hennessy XO Prize for Emerging Poetry in 2008. And I did ask her, as part of the prize, did she get a bottle of Hennessy XO?
Yeah.
But she didn't. And I saw it in duty free for $235, and I didn't buy it. This is Mary's third collection, her third collection of poetry, and she also edited Jessica Casey and Other Stories, published in 2011. The book showcased work from people with intellectual disabilities, following a multi-award-winning project funded by an arts participation bursary from the Arts Council of Ireland. And Mary also teaches a summer workshop at Kylemore Abbey, and she has also recently begun working with immigrant women writers. She's a member of a collective of poets who, through poetry readings, reach out to women who have had breast cancer, and is a co-author of their book Bosom Pals, which which was published by Dura Press in 2017. Now, in this third collection, the egret lines with news from other parts, I can say Mary goes straight to and for the heart in this book. It's heartwarming, it's heart-filled, it's not for the faint-hearted or disheartened, but it's about big hearts, broken hearts, and heartache. It's about love at every level. For those gone before us, those along the way, but in the past, and those along the way in the present. I'm going to read little 2 or 3 lines from a few poems. You'll have to bear with me. The Burden of History, this is called. I'd like to walk upon the earth without trampling on the history of my kin. So many roads are famine walks, and underneath the wild strawberry, powdered bones in the ditches. Let me go on. This is called Primer. I have moved at last into the third person, where I am able to forgive on principle at a comfortable distance. How you left me like a dangling infinitive looking for a sentence. The English wasn't lost, Kathy.
I'm afraid I must agree again.
That's all right. It's how cook the buckle on freshen, so, you know. And number 28, about the empty nest. Just the last few lines on this. I wonder what I need to do with no nest to make. This, my problem through the night, obsessing about it until I wake and weep inconsolably for my lost babies, my emptiness. I guess sometimes love is lonely, and Mary's lines are also fragile. They hang like a thread, doing all that they have to do to be all that they have to be. And I'm going to read this full poem. It was in the Mail News as well. It's a beautiful piece. It's called Fragile. I stand in the kitchen saying goodbye to the house I have lived in, mother and lover, when I see a song thrush dead at the door of the sun lounge, stunned forever by the clarity of glass. I look at his small, frail body, his speckled chest, but most of all at his 2 spindle legs limply clinging into air, as if there could be something they could grab to stop the folding of this fragile life back into the earth. Let me go on. I like this one, I have to say. The beginning and the end of this one is called Bangs. Women will get this if you get your hair done and you walk out. I look at myself in the mirror. Nice, I think. Updates me, I say to the hairdresser, laughing, then rush out, return his deadpan glance. I become the woman with the new haircut who was never seen again by her husband, who walked into the mirror and shattered it.
Wow, that's brilliant.
And I was thinking of myself when I read this, especially after these old Chicago blisters. It's called Prospect Lane. A pretty wallpaper peels back to a red wall, a scab torn to bleeding where I had hoped for healing. Oh. But there's also fun in these poems. Mary's description of mating mallards is superb. Are you going to read that, Mary?
No, I don't think I was, but I really
I think you will. I think you'll have to. It's on page 39 for those who have books. It's funny. It's just, I don't want to read it. I prefer Mary to read it. Mary, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to read that when you do your thing. And then there's awareness of new life and its continuity, noted especially in birthdays. And these are for our children, Andrew and Philippe, our sons. And it's on page 43. And I'll just do a couple of lines of this because it's, again, I found it powerfully moving. In this hospital where my father died and drew his last breath, Andrew, and drew you to me on the breath of a new morning, this morning, where you are love come back, and I kiss your little forehead and name you for the spirit of the ancestor in you, strong and true. I think that is absolutely beautiful. And that kind of theme about your dad continues in Steering Wheel. I'm going to just take 2 lines from that. Beautiful poem on Steering Wheel. I tell them you're like the engine hiding in the bonnet. We don't see it, but we depend on it. And this is followed by the beautifully moving About a Heart and Its Ancestry. That's page 48, Mary, which you're going to read as well. I hope. Page 48, which is beautiful, beautiful, about your children. And anyone who knows Mary knows that she's a twin with Andy. And Mary has always acknowledged what I call this twinship and the special bond between herself and Andy. And there's a beautiful poem again on page 59, which is called Twins. It's absolutely beautiful. And I don't know if you're nearly that down for reading, but you're happy. That's good. Glad to hear that. And you acknowledge the reality of brokenness in some families, and it's beautifully done in Family Funeral, page 79. And I know everyone will appreciate. I'll just read a bit of this. Everyone will appreciate this. We rarely meet now except to bury the dead and our hatchets for the day. As we stand saluting those who no longer have to survive the hypocrisies of backbiting, short-sightedness, lies. And it goes on, and then I'll finish with this. And when the goodbyes are spoken, the cruel irony of knowing already when we will meet again. Beautiful, beautiful poem. And there's another lovely poem, I don't know, is Mary going to read it? It's about Kylemore Abbey, a valediction forbidding mourning. It's on page 80. I don't know if you're reading that, Mary. No, she's looking at me, she's not. I'm going to read the last verse, Mary, so I'm going to read the last bit of it. I am wearing the black habit I made for this journey when I was a novice. Its heavy folds crimped to the neck, but now somehow airily light. I am inside every room, racing at my heart's pace through corridor and portal, where I once lived. I do not need that blue moon to see where I am going. It's about when you go into Kylemore, the first thing you do is you actually make your habit. This is the story of someone who dies and flies through the place. This book, it's a very feminine book. Yet as a man, I appreciate every word of it, and I know every man will. Mary, I say, she's like the archer. She's aiming for the target, the heart, all the time. The poems are a comfort, they're a challenge, they're full of hope, which is the symbol of the egret. Yet there's pain, regret, and grief, but there's joy and there's new life in abundance. I am grateful to have been asked to launch this book. I heartfully recommend it. And I'm honoured to launch The Egret Lands with News from Other Parts by Mary Madec, here in our native Carnamar, Westport.